Let's Talk here live on YouTube. We're glad you could join us today. I know it has been a minute since we've been on the air, but we are glad to be up and rolling again. What's up, Brett? How's things been going, man?
Man, it's good to be back doing this. We've been talking about doing it for a while. It just our schedules keep conflicting, and we wasn't able to actually get to where we could do it. And I said, hey, we both got some time. Let's get one knocked out. Let's make this happen. So
especially when we were trying to do it every week. I know we've kind of blown that. It's been a month and a half.
Well, part of that was my fault. My family was on vacation and stuff, so that took up a week or so there. But
not to mention, when we're launching a church, things are getting a lot busier now. So we're getting closer to launch date, which for those of you who are out there curious, September 30th. 2018 at 10 a.m. we will be launching in Jackson, Missouri, Next Level Freedom Church. I don't want to disclose the location just yet because we haven't signed the contract, but it is official. I'm just waiting on him to send it to me in email so I can sign it and send it back. But know that on September 30th of this year, God's getting ready to do a whole new thing in Jackson, Missouri. We hope y'all be praying for us. But that's coming. I've been trying to get videos up on the Next Level Freedom Church page, but I've been slacking there as well. I did get a Bible study up here a couple weeks ago. I hope you've been willing to check those out. We did a Unified episode since then, so check us out here on YouTube. You want to tell them a little bit about Give 'em Truth real quick?
Yeah, Give 'em Truth Ministries. Check it out on the YouTube. Check it out on YouTube there. We also have a Facebook page under Give 'em Truth Ministries. A couple of new videos up here. It's been about once every 2 weeks I get one up. I tried to get one up a week, but it don't always work out. But last video we did was on Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29, about the things that we say and our communication with each other and how we treat people with our language and stuff. So it's been going really good. So head over there, check us out, subscribe to it, like the page. I'd appreciate it.
Alright, last time, if you remember, if you checked out the video recently, then you will have remembered, but we checked out 1 Samuel chapter 16, and we were looking at David and his anointing as king, and we talked a little bit about the fear Samuel had of actually going because he knew how Saul was. We talked a little bit about that stuff. I'm not going to go ahead and re-hit on all that. You can go check out the video yourself if you do want to check it out. But today we are going to be continuing our new series we started here on the air called Come As You Are. Remember, we also said, though, that the other previous series was called It's Time to Move, and just because we quit the series doesn't mean it's time for you to stop moving. You need to still be moving forward. But this series is going to kind of tie in with that, because it is time to move, but you need to know that God wants you to come as you are and start doing what He's got for your life. So He'll grow you along the way. And He'll help you get to the point to where you need to be, but you got to be doing something first. So that's always our encouragement on the air, is to get out there, do something, let your light shine in this dark and fallen world. Right?
Just take that first step, man. That's really all it is you're not going to do anything sitting on your couch. You say that you're working, but you're not. If you're just sitting around doing nothing, then you're not accomplishing anything. You got to get up and take that first step. And once you do that, God's going to take some steps towards you, and you're going to get out there. You can get out there and get something accomplished. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort sometimes to just go out and just do a little something. And once you start doing a little something, before long, you realize you've accomplished something big. So
you got to get off your couch sometimes, quit watching TV, and get out there and do something for the kingdom of God, of course. So
you can't just be a fan. You can't be a Facebook minister all the time.
But we're gonna get off our pedestal of that here just for a moment. We're gonna move on today. We're gonna talk a little bit about a familiar story that most of you are gonna be familiar with, and that is David and Goliath. You've heard that since you were a kid, but we hope that we're able to bring some stuff out of this scripture today as we read that maybe you haven't thought about before. So, and part of that is setting it up to where it's at now. Remember last time we talked about the fact that David was probably around 15 years old, is what they believe, when he was actually anointed the king of Israel. Now, it was years later. He was like 40 or something, I think, before he actually took the throne. But so it was years later before he was actually put in that position. But when God anointed him, he became king. But God had a process and a road to take to get him to where he was. And today you're going to see yet another step in that road, and how God just used a simple shepherd boy to make a difference. And we even talked, he was good looking. He didn't look like your typical warrior or your typical king. He was that guy that you would least expect to do something, but he did. And today we're going to see one of his first big accomplishments that he had in his early life. So Actually, when we start the scriptures out today, it's probably been at least a couple years. He's probably around 17 at this point, is the belief. We are in 1 Samuel chapter 17 if y'all are wanting to join us there. But we're going to do some paraphrasing because we're not going to read the whole chapter because it would take us all day just to read it. But we do want to hit on some key scriptures and kind of paraphrase the rest. And I'm going to let Brett go ahead and start with that. So just kind of talk about where he's at right now. What's going on? What's going on with Israel? Or did I just put you on the spot? Totally through.
You wanted to start in 2023, is that where we're at?
Well, I was going to kind of sum up what happened before that. So basically what we've got is Israel and the Philistines at war. There's a valley in between them, which you'll notice as you read the early scriptures there. And Israel's on one side and the Philistines are on the other. And the battle is actually taking place in the middle of that valley. So yeah, we're just kind of setting the stage of what's kind of going on right there. Then something happens. Instead of fighting a regular battle, what's up?
This big, huge giant comes out. Basically, you see, you have Goliath come out and says, send out your strongest man. They send out their strongest man, which is of course is Goliath, and nobody wants to go out and fight this giant. And you see David comes along, and David doesn't understand, why does nobody want to fight this giant? It's like, we serve the living God, and y'all are scared of some 9 foot, some say 8, some say 9, some say 12 foot giant. Nobody really knows exactly how tall he was.
I believe it was probably around 9'10". I believe so, possibly.
But you got to think, you see in all the movies, you see David, and at least the movies I see, he's scrawny little boy, right? Scrawny little fella out there, just holding a staff, working with the sheep or whatever. And he walks up, and he's like, "Why are y'all scared of this guy for? Like, he ain't nothing." He's like, "We serve the living God of Israel, the one true God, the only God, and you guys are His army. You guys don't even want me around here because you think I've just come to watch a war happen, a battle happen down in the valley or whatever." And David's like, "I'll fight him." And everybody's like,
which we're getting to that. So
well, I know,
get too far ahead. He's telling the whole story.
I know, but it's fun to think about. It's just because you think about his brothers and everybody. This huge army being there, and that
are supposed to be fighting the Philistines,
and they're all scared, and they just keep mocking Israel or whatever because nobody will come out and fight this giant. So okay, before I get too far ahead, that's where we're at, I guess.
So now the Philistines sent out this giant and said basically, "Hey, let's settle this quick. You guys send out a guy, I'll fight him. If I kill him, then we take you. But if we become your slaves. But if he kills me, we'll be your slaves." Not knowing 40 days later he was going to regret those statements. But, so it's been about 40 days and 40 nights that this has been going on. And this Philistine has been mocking Israel, basically. Making fun of them because nobody will go to war. Now, something important to note here is that David's 3 oldest brothers are in this army that is fighting the Philistines. So basically what's happened here is Jesse, David's dad, has sent David with some food to take to his brothers and their commander. And he's supposed to take the food to them, check on them, see how they're doing. So I guess battles were a little different back then. You could just show up and give them food and, you'd be on your way. But
well, I'm sure there was 2 camps probably. I'm sure they weren't extremely close together, but...
So David shows up, and that's when he starts hearing some things. So as he's talking and checking with the... Actually, let's see here. Now let's just start in 19. Now Saul, this is 1 Samuel 17, verse 19. Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper and took the provisions and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the encampment as the host was going out to the battle line, shouting the war cry. And Israel and the Philistines drew up for battle, army against army, and David left the things in charge of the keeper of the baggage and ran to the ranks and went and greeted his brothers. So basically, "Hey guys, I'm here." Remember he's like 17 here. So as he talked with them, speaking with his brothers, behold, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up out of the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before. And David heard them, or David heard him. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were much afraid. And the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel. And the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter and make his father's house free in Israel. In other words, they won't have to pay taxes. And David said to the men who stood by, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him in the same way, so shall it be done to the man who kills him. We're going to stop right there for just a second because we're going to get into some criticism again here in a minute. And remember, we've said over and over in several of our shows that you're always going to have critics. You're always going to have people out there telling you you can't do something. But basically what's happened here is all these guys are cowering in their tents, and David's like, what's up? So he overhears the reward for the man that's going to kill this Philistine. And, you know, remember, when you were 17, if you're 17 watching this, you know how you are. When you're 17, you're all for it. Let's go out there and, you know, let's do something, right? So, but basically, David is sitting there and he overhears it. And he hears that the person that kills the Philistine is going to get rich. He's going to get a wife of the daughter of the king. And he's going to be free from taxes. Sounds like a pretty good deal. So David's like, so what's going to happen? Hang on.
Most 17-year-olds today are not thinking about a wife. You know, I mean that just shows you the cultural difference and the time difference. You know, that things were so much different back then. You know, so.
Well, I think that actually the daughter became his wife a little bit later. I think is how it ended up happening since he was younger. But I'm not sure. Maybe I could be wrong.
But still,
I have to relook.
He knew that was part of the reward. You know, so he.
I'm thinking, no taxes? Hey, that's a deal right there by itself, and I'm going to get rich. No, but anyway, so here's David, and while he's talking to these guys, and while he's asking, and while they're answering, his oldest brother, remember last time I mentioned Eliab, is going to be he's going to be the one giving him trouble next time when we talk about this part of the story. So his oldest brother is with the rest of them cowering in the tent. But then he sees little brother out there, looking like little brother's going to try to do something about what's going on. So then he speaks up, and that's in verse 28 here. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. It could have been just a little bit of a pride thing, a little bit of a jealous thing.
A little bit jealous.
My little brother's about to show me up. I better speak up and say something, that type of stuff. But just look what he says. And he said, why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? He is insulting him right here in front of all these people. Look, you little shepherd boy. That's basically what he's saying. What are you doing here? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, and you have come down to see the battle. You want to see the war. You know, he's like, you're a boy that's wanting to see that. And David's response here is basically, what have I done? What do I do now?
What have I done now?
Was it not but a word? And he turned away from him toward another, and spoke in the same way. And the people answered him as before. He's asking all these people, how's he going to reward him? Hold up. I guess he's wanting to verify, this is going to be this easy for me to get this stuff, really?
You get the idea here, too, that it just with what David said there, what have I done now? You know, he's asking them the question. It's apparently his brothers, or at least this brother, is always hounding him, it seems like. He's always on him about something like, David can't do anything right. Look, I'm here trying to bring you some food, so shut up. You know, I'm trying to help you out, and now you're here insulting me, presuming the wrong things about me again. You know, that's why he says, "What have I done now?" But so it looks like, from what I understand, is that David is used to this way of being treated by his brother. And you know, if we want to bring that into today, there's always going to be those people, aren't there? There's always going to be that person. That one person that's going to constantly tell Trenton, you'll never get that church started. You know, you're never going to get the members, or you're never going to get, you know, the building or anything like that. You know, we're always going to have those negative things in our life. But I'm sure now, you know, Trenton can probably tell you from where he is now to where he was when he started this. Look how far he's come by not listening to those people. And the same goes in my life, and the same goes in your life. Is don't listen to the negativity. You know, you can chop it up as constructive criticism if you need to, you know, maybe pull something from it, but don't let the negative people in your life, just like in this situation here, David could have turned around, threw the food at him, said, "Fine, see you guys," and went back home. You know,
he was being insulted.
You know, but he didn't.
Typical reaction.
As we read on, which we know what's going to happen, as we read on, we're going to see what happens. We're going to see the way David's life has changed because he takes that step out for God whenever he goes to fight that giant. And so, you know, it's been done 1,000 times in sermons or whatever, but what's the giant in your life, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that those types of sermons, but at the same time I don't, I guess, because but what is the giant in your life though? Because you can chop that giant down just by stepping out and going to serve God and doing whatever God has told you to. And that's what we're going to see David do here in just a minute, is take out that giant that's in his way.
And really, you could almost look at this as the mini giant before he gets to the main giant, because somebody's already trying to discourage him.
Yeah.
His brother starts with an insult. "Why are you here, shepherd boy? Go home," basically.
The devil don't want him stepping forth in what he's going to step into later on, being king of Israel.
And neither does his brother. Because he's already... And
well, that's where jealousy comes in, you know?
And I'm sure that this jealousy has probably been here since he was anointed, if I had to guess, because of sibling rivalry. I mean, think about it. You're the oldest kid. You got the right to all of dad's stuff, right? At least in this culture. You got the right to everything. And this prophet comes along. And it started basically last week. This prophet comes along, goes through all of you and your 6 other brothers to get down to David, who's your 7th other brother. And David, the youngest, has surpassed you. What's going on? Why we got to choose him and not me? I mean, think about it. It's typical rivalry.
Okay, older brother, you can have the lands and you can work the lands and have all the flocks. You can have all that, but I'm still going to be king and rule over you. So either way, I win. You know.
Now, he may have said something like that. We don't really know because the Bible doesn't clarify it. But I'm sure there were those moments. You got to think sibling rivalry.
Oh yeah.
If you've got brothers and sisters, you know how you fought with them. And all that stuff is there. And that is this once again rising up in Eliab here, who's basically trying to shut this thing down before it gets too far, because he knows that he's one of the guys that was cowering in the tent with the other ones. And that if little brother comes up and shows him up again, hey, yeah. I got to put a stop to this. And like he just said, there's always going to be people like that out there. And they're trying to shut you down so that you won't surpass them. And
yeah, they don't want you doing something that maybe you failed at, you know.
And we've talked about, like in our Bible study through the book I've done on the air, we talked about the Pharisees, and Jesus was still in their thunder. And that type of attitude is always out there. And that somebody's going to try to shut you down, but you got to keep pushing forward, especially if you know it's a calling God has given you. You've got to get past all of that, and you got to focus on the goal that God has for your life. If David had done what he just mentioned and turned away and went home, fine, whatever, got the attitude and went home,
end of story.
That would have, I mean, he probably would have still became king, but would he have been known as the brave warrior that he had become known as in Israel? So, takes that step.
So, you look at this and you see this whole story that we're hearing about David for all the way from the beginning until the end of his life, which we're not going to get into all that probably, but it's just like any other person's life, it's just like we've been doing that series on my show where we go back through our ministry and we see the things that God, how it started and to where we are today, and we're going to be finishing up that series soon too with the last episode. But with any person's life, you look at that, and you look at David's life, and you see all of the things that he did and all the things that he went through. If one of those things wouldn't have happened, it would have changed the whole story.
Oh, yeah.
So it's that way with your life. Don't let those people, that we were talking about earlier, influence your life to the point where you don't do what God's calling you to do, because that one thing that you don't do could be the pivotal point in your ministry or a pivotal point in your life that changes your life for the better. So keep pursuing God and keep trusting in God. Just like David is here. He calls them out and says, we serve the living God of Israel, and y'all won't go out and fight. We serve the living God of Israel. So get out there and do what he's asked us to do. It's the same, it's a different situation, but it's the same situation. We just got to try to apply it to ourselves.
And, we kind of mentioned a little bit last time about the fact that, I just lost my train of thought. But the fact that you're coming up, you're trusting God. Oh, I know what it was. Every decision that you've made in your life has got you to this point, wherever you're at, watching this video. Every decision. If you had made one of those decisions differently, like he just said, it would have shifted your whole life. Whether that could be good or it could be bad. Maybe you made a bad decision that totally ruined your life, but you can still come back, is the thing. It just takes a detour sometimes to get us back. But if you made a good decision and you look back and you see, wow, if I hadn't made that choice, if you're a business owner and you hadn't made the choice to start that business, maybe you're a millionaire now because you followed what God told you to do. I mean, and I hope if you are that you're a very good Christian millionaire that's actually giving some of that wealth out.
Who likes
not
to
trying
donate.
not trying to hinder it to yourself. That's not even what I'm getting at, because if you become selfish with it, you know, I can take it away as easy as he gave it to you.
What good is it if it ain't helping nobody?
You're blessed to be a blessing, so always remember that. Even if it's not got anything to do with money, God's blessed you with something. Me and my wife just had a conversation the other day. She was discouraged about some things that had been going on, and I said, you know what? The next time the devil tries to put you in this position, I want you to start counting your blessings. That old song that came out of the hymnal, count your blessings, name them one by one. That's not ignorant. That's a good, actually try it. Just try it. Next time you get discouraged or down, start counting your blessings. Well, God's blessed me with a wife. God's blessed me with kids, a family, dogs. He got 2 cars, a 2-car garage. He's blessed me with a roof over my head. All these blessings, and as you start naming them, just like the song says, it starts building something up inside of you that makes you want to continue
Well,
to
you know
push
what?
forward.
It encourages you. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It encourages you to whatever challenge that is that you're getting ready to face or that you don't want to face. You're like, oh yeah, I remember that time I did this, and remember the time God helped us through that, and remember the time God blessed us when we needed this. You know, I think about those things, and it's like, well, this is nothing. You know, this is nothing compared to the other thing that we just made it through. So, you know, you're either coming out of something, or you're going into something, or you're right smack dab in the middle of something. That's our Pastor Mark was preaching on that last Sunday. You know,
Lots of pastors
you're
say
either
that.
going in, or you're right in the middle, or you're coming out, and that's just the way life continually
Circle
is.
of life.
But all the way through that, if you keep God in focus, it doesn't matter what you're going to go through. You're going to be able to come out on the other end of it. At the end of this life, look back, and I want to be able to say that at least I tried. You know, I mean, yeah, you know what? I've taken plenty of detours in my life, and I've taken the wrong path plenty of times and messed some things up. But that is part of life too, you know. But at the same time, if I wouldn't have took those detours, I wouldn't have been able to see where I went wrong and be able to correct it and hopefully not make that same mistake. So, you know, it's life, and that's what David's living here is life. And he's chosen to put his trust in the God of Israel. And he's wanting to know why everybody else isn't doing that. So think about that. Are you putting your trust in the God of Israel? Are you putting your trust and your hope in God to affect your life, to take care of your life? Because there's so many people that aren't.
Yeah. So, whatever decisions you've made that's got you to this point, move forward from here. Don't keep looking back. Don't be one of those annoying high school jocks that are always talking about how things used to be and how maybe they scored the winning touchdown 20 years ago when they were in high school.
Back in 76.
Nobody remembers it but them. But, you know, they're sitting there in that memory. But you got to be able to move forward, guys.
Yeah.
What's next? What's next should be always your question. You know, not what if in a negative way, but maybe what's next? Maybe you should change that question to what's next, God? Okay, we've gotten to here, God. What's next? And I get looks sometimes, but, you know, when I see a difficult situation, especially from my wife, y'all, she give me the looks. She can watch this later, but, you know, I just look at her and said, I've seen God do bigger. That's because I've seen God do bigger. Once you've seen God move in your life, that's not boasting, that's not bragging, that's not arrogance. That's just you know
a faith
the
building,
God you
really.
serve.
That's your faith. That's your faith that's been built up over the years, you know.
So, you know, and we don't mean that to sound arrogant. We just, you know the God you serve and what He's capable of. And if you've seen Him do things, that's why you come through those storms that we've been talking about here for just a minute. So that the next storm that comes along, you can like, you know what? God got me through the last one. He's going to get me through this one, and you can keep moving forward. We're not going to finish the story today, y'all, but we're going to go ahead and read this next section here real quick because I think it's important. Basically, through there, all the way down to verses 31 to 37, Saul gets word of this. he's, they get the word back to Saul that, hey, we got some kid here that, says he can handle this situation or this problem. And he gets in front of Saul. Saul sees him. He's like, dude, you're a youth. This guy's been fighting since he was a youth, and you're still a kid. How do you plan to come against him? And that's when David gets into the fact that, you know what, God has helped me kill lions. He's helped me kill bears. I mean, y'all think about that. I mean, y'all, we read over this stuff. Dude, he killed a lion.
I ain't going after no lion.
With a slingshot. So while he's been on the backside of nowhere, he's been training for this moment. He's been slinging rocks, maybe throwing. I could see him throwing them at trees just as targets. And then, when lions or bears came to take some of his flock, he would kill them and he would go after him. So his bravery has been getting built. And basically David tells Saul, you know what? The same God that delivered me from the lions and bears, that's the same God that's going to deliver this Philistine into my hand. But what I want to key in on is this next part in verse 38. 1 Samuel 17, verse 38, it says, Then Saul clothed David with his armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head, and he clothed him with a coat of mail. And David strapped his sword over his armor, and he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. And then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them. So David put them off, and he took his staff in his hand, and he chose 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in his hand, and he approached the Philistine. Now, as far as scripture reading, that's where we're going to stop today. But let's talk about this for a second. Not only are there going to be the critics that tell you can't do it, but there's always going to be someone telling you how you should do it. Yeah. Even if God is telling you to do it a completely different way, there's always going to be someone with an opinion out there who's trying to tell you, well, this is how you should do it. And you're saying, well, God hasn't told me to do it that way. He said to do it this way. Whatever the situation may be. If you know it's God telling you to do it a certain way, then that's the way you need to do it. Or you're not going to be successful. So you can't just take the advice from all the people that are telling you, some people, there may be good advice there, but, you can't let people determine your destiny for you, I guess is what I should say. But Saul tried to clothe him in armor, his armor. So it was too big for him. And here's this little kid saying, I can't go in this. I haven't been able to walk in this. There's no way. So he took what he was used to fighting with. He took his staff, he took his 5 stones and smooth stones, and he took his shepherd pouch. What do you want to say?
I was just thinking, everybody's always got their 2 cents, going back to what you said first there. Everybody always wants to put their 2 cents in on your life, your situation, because they know I've been in your situation, and I hate when people say that. I know what you're going through. You don't know me. It's like, how do you know what I'm going through? We met yesterday. It's like, you don't know what I'm going through. This situation might be similar, but you don't know what I'm going through. So, there's always going to be somebody there willing to put their 2 cents into your life. But you take that 2 cents and, it's just like, put it up on the shelf, or just put it in the back of your head. You think about it or whatever. Not saying that all, and not everything somebody tells you is going to be wrong or bad, but only you can know what God is telling you.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, what God has told you, that's what you need to pursue. That's what you need to do. And you know what? There is godly people that will come along and will have a word for you from God. It's happened to me plenty of times. But even then, even when someone gives you that a word from God, you take it and you hold on to it. I'm not going to say you sit on it or set it on the shelf, but you put it in your head, you think about it from time to time, and you see if that's coming true in your life. Because just because someone says I have a word from God doesn't actually mean that it is a word from God.
Deceptive spirits.
How I do that in my life is I look at the person that's giving me that word and how much, how godly of a person it is, and how good of a relationship they have with God or with me. And I take other people more seriously. Maybe that's wrong to say, I don't know, but I take other people more seriously than others when I get those things happen in my life. So, anyway.
Something else I wanted to make a note real quick. When he took his own stuff, David had to go with what he was used to using. That's not saying that at some point in his future, David didn't use armor, because I'm sure he did, because he did do many battles. But at this point, he couldn't. He hadn't tested it, just like he said. He wasn't used to it. He had to get to that point. But he took what he had that he knew he could fight with. And I want you to notice he took his staff, and he took 5 smooth stones. And I don't know, maybe you've out there, maybe you've heard a preacher preach on this. But basically, David knew that just Goliath had 4 other brothers. So he took 5 stones because he figured once I kill this guy, the other 4 is probably going to try to come and do something about it. So he took. So basically, what David was doing was preparing himself for the next battle. I mean, you can't just let this one battle be it, and this is your glory, and this is all you talk about the rest of your life. You're going to have other battles that come, and David took extra stones because he knew that it's a potential that his brothers are going to try to come and start something too, and I'm going to put a stone in their head just like I'm going to do him. So,
well, even think about that too, though. I mean, there's a lesson of faith there. He didn't go to the creek and grab a sack full of rocks. He grabbed 1 per person. For each person that he thought might come after him. He wasn't worried about the rest of the army. He was worried about, because that's how family is. You take out one brother, the rest of the brothers are going to come rolling on you. You know, it's just the way it is. But the faith there, he took just enough stones to do what he needed to do. You know, he didn't grab a sack full and, you know, think he was going to throw all these slingshots and everything in case he missed. He knew he was going to hit every single one of them. Dead center the way he needed
that
to.
Right there, like you just said, that's a faith statement right there. Because he's like, I mean, look, don't let people tell you he took 5 just in case he missed. That's not why David took 5 stones.
He wasn't planning on missing. I mean, you listen to that story and he's like, you serve the God of Israel who's going through this whole thing with his brothers and all. He knew he was fit to hit him.
So he took what he needed because he knew there's probably going to be more battles that come from this one. And that's true in all our lives. Just because you get through one, there's another one coming. And like we mentioned earlier, you're either going through one, you're in the middle of one. Wait, I just said that wrong again. That's 2 of the same thing. You're either getting ready to go through a storm, you're in the middle of one, or you're on your way out of one. So David, he's showing real maturity here, basically. He's like, I'm ready. I'm ready for whatever comes from this. So he took his sling, he took what he had, and he approached the Philistine. And unfortunately, that's where we're going to stop for today. I mean, there's those of them out there that's like, you know what, he's getting ready to get to the good part. We'll talk about it next time.
I just make him want to come back next time.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be a month and a half before the next one. So, but come back next time. We're going to talk about come as you are, because that's exactly what David is doing right here. He's coming just as he is. And throughout this series, we're going to be taking a look at different areas and different points in David's life when he came just as he was and used what he had, and he accomplished God's will for his life, because it didn't stop with Goliath. So, but we're going to talk about him killing Goliath next time. Before we do, I want to go ahead and give us a chance to go ahead and, if you're on this, checking us out, go ahead and subscribe to this channel while you're on here. Give us a like, give us a comment. Let us know, what you're thinking. Also, we didn't mention this at the beginning, but I'm going to mention it now. Send us an email, wait.letstalk@gmail.com. We want to know what you want to talk about on the air. We're in the middle of a series right now. We may have some down the road, but we want to be able to talk about topics that you're interested in. So hit us up with the email that's on your screen right now. Let us know what you would like us to talk about, us to do research on, and we'd be glad to do that. Like I said, I'm always up for a challenge. It gives me something to keep continually learning, because when I start studying something else, I generally learn something I hadn't figured out about it. So also, I want to go ahead and tell you to go ahead and check out Next Level Freedom Church, the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe to that. Check out the Bible study, Unified. We're going to have some more videos coming up as we draw closer to launch, where I'm going to be talking a little bit more about what we're going to be doing and what's going on with the church. Other than that, I want Brett, go ahead and tell them about what you got going on, man.
Just first of all, if you are checking out the show, do us a favor right now, right after we're done talking. And go share the video, go share it on Facebook, just share it, send it through a text to somebody or whatever, and just try to get it out there, because that's kind of the point of what we're doing here. It's for us to talk, but it's also to get y'all talking and talking about the scriptures, and that's kind of the whole point of the whole thing, is to talk about the scriptures. As far as what I got going on, I pretty much said it at the beginning. Go check out Give Them Truth Ministries. The channel's doing pretty good. I'm getting some feedback from some of the people that I know is checking it out. Make sure you subscribe. I really appreciate it. Make sure you hit the like button, and make sure if you want all the notifications to come directly to you as soon as the show is available, make sure you hit the bell. And yeah, just appreciate y'all checking us out here on Let's Talk and checking out my thing. And make sure you check out Trenton's as well.
So we went a little over, but consider it last time we cut it a little short. So we're just making up for some minutes. So thanks y'all for tuning in. This has been Let's Talk. I'm Pastor Trenton, along with
Pastor Brett.
And we'll see you guys next time. God bless.